So the president of the United States with an executive order, a dramatic election year move by President Biden. This executive order on the border. You and I have gone through it over and over again for hours before the show, trying to understand everything. Yesterday, we only had a couple of nuggets here. We've got a lot more that we understand. But I think the best way to understand this, and I've got really specific questions about what has changed.
Okay.
If you're a migrant, how do you get in now to claim asylum? Because Biden has changed the process.
Right. And to help us understand it, we thought, well, why don't we talk to somebody that does this for a living? Joining us right now is Sal Macias. He is an immigration attorney for Nunez Law. Full disclosure, Josh Nunez of Nunez Law is a friend of mine.
Oh, good.
So I called him, and he says, talk to Sal. Sal's the best. Sal, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
So, Sal, we're going to ask you some. I'm going to call them the basic questions, the ones that I think a lot of people are curious about after hearing about this new executive order. Number one, how many people can apply for asylum legally now in the United States?
So, prior to this executive order, anyone who entered the United States, whether legally or illegally, by law, is able to apply for asylum. And that's basically someone that's just fleeing their country of origin or the country where they were at and asking help of the United States.
That was the law yesterday.
Correct.
Okay.
And as of the executive decision, the executive order today that goes into effect at midnight, the only people that will be able to request asylum are those that first set up an appointment at a legal port of entry and then ask for asylum. Anyone who enters the country illegally and requests asylum will no longer be able to apply for asylum.
Okay.
All right, so give me an example of claiming asylum legally. Give me an example.
What does it look like these days? Now, today. You laughed because we're laughing too, trying to make heads or tails of it.
Oh, and trust me, it's a head spin. But the way that someone would request asylum now is that there is an app that they can use to try to set up an interview at a legal port of entry. The problem is that everyone logs in at the same time and tries to set up an appointment at the same time. For your listeners out there, if you've ever tried to set up a queue at Disneyland to ride a ride, it's that times 10,000.
Well, it sounds like trying to get Taylor Swift tickets. You know?
Exactly.
It crashes the system. Okay.
And I foresee that we're probably going to see a lot of those issues. But one of the main concerns that a lot of individuals that are against this executive order are claiming is that still technically by a lot of the conventions that the United States has signed, we're supposed to allow people to apply for asylum even if they entered undocumented. And that's something that you see in the news all the time. Oh, these individuals are crossing our borders. They're entering illegally. They're doing it wrong. Well, in reality, by some of the conventions that we've signed, even if they entered illegally, they were legally asking for asylum. And obviously the Biden administration is trying to change that.
Okay, so what happened at Lukeville? When people were, when the cartel on the other side, they were cutting the wall, they were cutting it down, and they were pushing people through. And many of those people were then claiming asylum. Would they be allowed to claim asylum if they were to do that tomorrow, or would they be denied access into the U.S.? How does that work?
They would be denied the possibility of us applying for asylum because they wouldn't be doing it through that CBP-1 app anymore.
So you got to go. You got to go to the CBP-1 app, reserve a time, go to a port of entry, and that's it. If you're found climbing over the wall, no asylum.
Correct. And, it's going to present its own challenges. I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits. But for anybody who is aware or who's trying to get information to these individuals across the board right now, it's imperative that they understand that this option that they thought they'd have, they will no longer have after midnight today.
We're talking to Sal Macias. He's an immigration attorney. And Sal, it strikes me there's so much going on. Is part of the issue with what is going on our southern border right now a lack of information/communication to those who are coming here? Are they being told one thing and they get to the border and it's something else?
That is completely the case. Unfortunately, a lot of these individuals whether they're coming from Mexico or Latin America or other parts of the world, they're being told that if they go to the United States, even illegally, and then request asylum, that they'd be able to win asylum. What isn't communicated to them is how excruciatingly hard it is to win an asylum claim. Mm-hmm. I would venture to say that 90% of the people that end up claiming asylum, unfortunately, do not end up winning their asylum claims and actually end up getting deported.
Okay, so yeah, and so that message is not getting. When you say they're being told, who's telling them this? Who's encouraging them to leave their home country, be it Mexico or Central South America? We hear China, Africa, etc.
Honestly, at this point, it would be speculation for me. Okay. Obviously, there are theories as to who are the people that are sending this information. I mean, I've read articles that even point out to private entities sending information to these third world countries, letting them with messages such as, oh, that Biden administration is allowing you to come in. Now, mind you, a lot of these individuals that are sharing this information actually want a problem at the border because it creates a good circumstance for them politically. So we have to be very careful. I think if the United States really does want to tamper down undocumented immigration into the country, the efforts to educate those in Latin American countries, even, there's a lot of talk about the wall. Well, I would propose if a wall actually does get built, can we please graffiti the side on the south side, letting them know what the rules and issues that they would be facing when they enter the country? Because when my experience working in immigration law, a lot of these laws that were meant to deter illegal immigration never are or never were communicated to those of the border. And I think that's one of the main cycles, unfortunately, that we continue to get placed in.
Sal Macias is joining us, an immigration attorney here in the Valley. Listen, the left has their talking points today. The right has their talking points today. Part of the right, this is what they're saying. Limiting asylum seekers risks lives. How is that?
They're saying that limiting – it's funny because when you speak to the right, one day they're talking about closing of the border and limiting asylum, and that's what they want. And just when you have a left administration do something about border security, they want to say that it's not enough. They want to say that it's too little too late. But if there's one thing that I've seen, regardless of the administration in power, is that no one wants to give the other side a victory. And unfortunately, the people in this country, the people in this state are the ones that continue to suffer. As an immigrant myself, I'm pretty tired of being placed as a pawn in this narrative. I think ultimately what needs to be done is people need to just get informed. So I highly recommend all your listeners out there, if you stand on a certain corner in this debate, please reach out to the other side and just talk to each other. Have a coffee, have a beer, whatever it may be. But I'm telling you, the truth is somewhere in the middle. But most of the immigrants in this country, they want to do things right. They want to be able to file their documentation properly. They'll go through background checks and they'll pay whatever needs to get paid. However, it's the avenues in between, whether that's the left promising things that they'll never deliver, or whether that's the right trying to exclude everything. A lot of the times it's presented as these 11 million people in our country that we don't know. Let me put it to you in a different way. These 11 million people that have lived next to you and are your neighbors for the last 30 years, that build your houses, clean your offices, buildings, and feed your food. I'll give you your food. That's what needs to be explained, is that they're already part of the American tapestry. They're already part of the American story.
Understood. Sal, really appreciate your time. I have a sneaking suspicion we may talk to you more in the future. Appreciate it.
I'd be happy to. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's Sal Macias, a immigration attorney over at Nunez Law.
I don't think this Biden executive order is legal because
I don't think it's legal.
He made a good point. The current law in the books is anyone who makes it to U.S. soil can claim asylum. Anybody.
Period. That's what the law
That doesn't mean – so it doesn't matter where you came in from. If it was over the wall, through the wall, a port, sea. Again,
I'm just talking about the law as it exists.
That's the current law. Here in the Biden executive order, you've got to go on the app, the CBP1 app. You have to reserve a time to go to an official port of entry.
You got to have a cell phone and an international cell phone plan in order to qualify.
You also have to be at a port of entry. So part of it is, well, what if you climbed over the wall? Well, in the current books, you can climb over the wall, fall onto the American side. I claim asylum.
Right.
And that's supposed to count. And now it doesn't.
Which is why specifically the ACLU and others already said they're immediately going to challenge this, just like they did when Trump had an asylum ban as well. And when they challenged the Trump asylum ban, they won.
Yeah.
So take it for what it's worth.
We'll see.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.